Thank you, Cathaoirleach. I think the government's decision not to hold a public inquiry into the banking crisis is nothing short of a disgrace. And in fact, it's an insult to our intelligence to go around pretending on the media that this is in fact a public inquiry. It's anything but. Anyone who takes an interest in politics and current affairs will have read the many books that deal with how decisions are taken in smoky rooms, almost always by men who claimed to know what was best for their country. Well, in politics, in construction and in banking in this country, it would appear to have been a small coterie of people who effectively decided the policy of the state and the impact that this would have on all of the citizens. They behaved like they had all the answers. They behaved like they were masters of the universe. Well, they were wrong then, and the government is wrong now to hold what is in effect a private inquiry. It seems that this government is so desperate to protect themselves and the bankers who have been running rings around them for years that they have truly lost touch with the people of this country. The citizens of Ireland realise that they and their children will be paying for the mess which the Irish economy is in for years to come. They know that the excessive mortgages, which hundreds of thousands of people are saddled with, are a direct result of the banking policy to triple bank credit relative to GNP in just 11 years. They realise that banks will not lend enough money for years to come as they desperately seek to repair their balance sheets. All the Irish public want is a bit of openness and honesty, and a real investigation into what went wrong in the Irish banking and financial sector, why it went wrong, and who is responsible. This requires a public investigation, not a report conducted in private. The only Oireachtas oversight proposed is that of a committee packed and chaired by Fianna Fáil. The government is so petrified about having to take responsibility for their actions during the Celtic Tiger that they are willing to sanction a whitewash. If we're to learn the lessons from the collapse in Irish banking, and if we're to ensure that this is never allowed to happen again, then we must have a public inquiry which deals with every facet of the crisis in an open and transparent manner. I listened to Deputy Mulcahy last night when he was asked about the time frame and the timeline on this, and would it include September 2008. And he gave the usual evasive answer. It was his opinion. We're not really that interested anymore in opinions. What we want are facts. And it would appear to all the rest of us from reading this that anything beyond September 2008, or perhaps up to the beginning of September 2008, we don't know, is clearly outside of the remit of this. And so much happened beyond that date that is so important, and we get opinions but no facts. So this means that the banking guarantee is not within the remit of the investigation. Is this because the government doesn't want it to emerge how they were hoodwinked by the bankers into offering blanket support for the Irish banks? Is it because they don't want the public to realise how much they knew about the perilous state of Anglo-Irish? To limit the terms of investigation to September 2008 is indeed a whitewash. Everything the government have had to do with regard to the banking system flows from the bank guarantee hatched one night in government buildings. The Labour Party voted against this guarantee, and it was the right decision. Bailing out the banks to the tune of 11 billion, nationalising Anglo-Irish, establishing NAMA, all became necessary because once the guarantee was in place, the government had to take up these actions. Otherwise, the guarantee would have been called upon, thus bankrupting the state. There is one other issue that needs to be addressed by any inquiry and which may not be addressed by the government's private inquiry, and this is the complicity of the media in stoking the property bubble. A few years ago, property was such a big earner for papers that their property sections were often as big as the rest of the paper. The media happily quoted the pet economists of the banks who told us that the property sector remained strong and the fundamentals were sound. You could hardly open a paper without being told of the mythical property ladder. So where is the property ladder now? Is it stored away in somebody's garage? Has it been repossessed? Or is the property ladder to be purchased by NAMA, perhaps with a 30% discount, meaning the loss of a few steps? The role of the media and others who had a financial interest in effectively scaring people into purchasing houses at grossly inflated prices with the threat that they had to get on the ladder needs to be investigated by a public inquiry. Conducting what is in fact a private inquiry, which does not cover September 2008, means that we run the very serious risk of not getting all the information, in fact getting very little of the real information, not getting all of the answers, and not learning from our past mistakes, so that we can make sure that this is never allowed to happen again. The amendment from the government is designed to provide a convenient smokescreen that edits out some of the most important timeframes within which the major decisions were taken. Well, what we need is an opportunity to hear the uncut version of the film and the unedited script. Thank you, Cahill.